Do you watch Blue Bloods? How much behind-the-scenes knowledge do you know? Well, we've got some interesting facts that we think all Blue Bloods fans should know. That's why we're bringing you this video, because who doesn't love knowing some secrets of your favorite show? Well, grab a seat and relax, because we're about to get started. First up, a former NYPD edits the scripts. You heard that right, a former NYPD detective edits the scripts. His name is James Nuciforo, and he usually goes over the scripts before they film them. This is because he's supposed to make sure that the fictional stories in the show are close to real-life police experiences. I think that's pretty cool, because how many former officers do you know who are on shows reading scripts? In an interview with Country Living magazine, he said that he typically gives about 5 to 10 pages of extra words to throw into the script. That's why so many police officers are fans of the show, because they're saying things they actually make sense. Did you know that about the NYPD detective? That one really surprised me. I wonder what he's added over the show's running. Next, Commissioner Reagan's house is a common place in New York. One thing that we know is always going to happen in the show is dinner at Commissioner Frank Reagan's house with his family. It's during these dinners that the family begins to discuss various career and moral issues. Obviously, the dinner scenes are usually filmed in a modified CBS studio, but the exterior is from a real home in Brooklyn, New York. The exterior shot of Commissioner Reagan's house is owned by Maronites. You can find it at 8070 Harborview Terrace in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. Understandably, it's not open to visitors, but you can still see it when you walk by. Will you be adding this stop to your next trip around New York? Don't go peeping through the window though. I don't think they'll like that. It's just a feeling that I have. Next, Tom Selleck was the original Thomas Magnum. Did you know that there is a Magnum PI reboot airing on CBS with Jay Hernandez? Well, the show is going to be following Thomas Magnum, who is a former Marine who has taken up the job as a private investigator in Hawaii. I would like that job. Maybe we can switch. Anyway, Magnum PI is in the same universe as Hawaii 5-0. The reason why I've brought this up is because Tom Selleck, who plays Captain Reagan in Blue Bloods, also played Thomas Magnum in a long-running show in the 80s with the same name. That original show ran for 8 seasons, and it was where Tom Selleck made his mark as an actor. So you can guess that it was a pretty big deal. However, Blue Bloods is now on its 10th season, so we can also safely say that Selleck knows how to grab a role that will last him a lifetime. Did you know that Selleck was Thomas Magnum PI back in the day? I didn't even know about that show in the 80s. Up next, Danny Reagan's sons are brokers. In Blue Bloods, we have Detective Danny Reagan, who's the oldest son of Commissioner Frank Reagan. He has 2 sons named Jack and Sean, and guess what? They're real-life brothers. Jack is played by Tony Teresiano, while Sean is played by Andrew Teresiano. Their age difference in the show is the exact same as real life as well. Apparently, the brothers started off as childhood models before they got into acting. They ended up grabbing the roles when they were 8 and 6 years old. Andrew also has a twin named Molly, and she isn't on the show. Can you believe that these 2 brothers are real brothers? I wonder what it's like working and living with your sibling all the time. It must be exhausting some days. Would you be able to do that with your siblings? Danny is played by a former popular band member. If you were a New Kids on the Block fan, then you may recognize Danny from somewhere. However, if you're a bit younger, then you won't know who that is. Well, Danny is from the American boy band New Kids on the Block from Dorchester, Massachusetts. This boy band was huge in the 80s and 90s. It was basically One Direction back in the day. The band even sold 80 million records worldwide. Donnie Wahlberg, who was part of the band, now plays Danny Reagan in Blue Bloods. After he left the band, Wahlberg has ended up having a great career in films like Zookeeper, The Sixth Sense, and Saw. Did you know that Wahlberg was in the New Kids on the Block? Do you know what New Kids on the Block is? Well, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that you keep watching this video, because we have even more secrets about Blue Bloods that you might not have known. Next up, the creators worked on The Sopranos. The creators of Blue Bloods are married couple Mitchell Burgess and Robin Green. This couple has written episodes for Almost Grown, Northern Exposure, and Party of 5. They actually met on the set of The Sopranos because they worked with creator David Chase. He actually hired them to write for that successful show, but many disagreements were had. Chase ended up saying that they didn't understand the characters, so he fired them both. Don't worry though, because they ended up still being successful, and that's how they met and got to where they are today. Did you know that about the creators? I can't believe they met because of The Sopranos, another amazing show. Tom Selleck nearly got rid of his mustache. Tom Selleck was known for his dark mustache when he was Thomas Magnum. This ended up giving him a macho-looking appearance, but during the production of the first season, they nearly made him shave it off because they said he was too old for it. Can you believe that? Luckily, the CBS executive stepped in because they did not share the same thought process. They said that that mustache actually looked good on him and that he should keep it. I'm happy they made that call because I can't imagine him without a mustache. That would just be too strange. Can you picture Reagan without a mustache? No? Do you think he would still be intimidating? Next, filming was almost done in Toronto. Many shows are actually filmed in Toronto, Canada instead of New York City. We're looking at you, Suits. However, Blue Bloods lucked out because that didn't happen for this show. Since New York has some unreal taxes, the producers were worried that the budget would end up being too high. That's why they were going to go up north. However, the production company struck a deal with the state governments, and that's why they are able to film in New York City. I wonder what they did to get that deal though, because so many other shows are not able to do so. What do you think they did? How much do you think it costs to film in New York? I don't really want to think about it because living in New York is absolutely astronomical. And some of the actors eat the food at the dinner table. We see a lot of shows with dinner scenes, and many of the actors and actresses just leave the food alone. However, some people on the set of Blue Bloods think a bit differently to that. Take Donnie Wahlberg, for example. He spoke to Access Hollywood and basically told them that he has to eat the food because it's dinner time. However, castmate Selleck doesn't share the same sentiments. He's actually said in an interview that he doesn't like filming an eating scene because you have to eat the exact same food over and over again so they can get the right shots. Also, he said that they might spend 8 hours filming that one scene. Wow, 8 hours on one scene and eating this exact same food? That does not sound good to me. So I get why he doesn't like it. Would you eat the food during that scene? Lastly, a cast member was fired because of controversy. If you remember, really early on in the show, there was a character known as Detective Jackie Curatola, and she was played by Jennifer Esposito. She was a recurring character, but things ended up changing in the third season because she collapsed on set. Her doctor ended up saying that she needed to take some sick leave, but the executives at CBS thought that she was deliberately staying away from work. She ended up asking for lighter duties, but CBS fired her instead. They ended up issuing a statement that explained that Jennifer was only available to work on a part-time schedule, so she wasn't able to perform her role. Obviously, she jumped on Twitter and said that CBS got rid of the only minority cast member so they could be like CSI with an all-white cast. It all ended pretty badly, and that's not right, but we can't do anything about it. What do you think about how Jennifer was fired from her job at CBS? Well, that's all we have for you about Blue Bloods. Did any of these facts surprise you? Did you already know some of these secrets? Let us know down below.